Hello everyone, you are tuned in to the Channel 5 News. My name is Andrea Louis. First up, we join Kenny Williams as he spoke with Member of Parliament for the Casa Bruce constituency, Johnson Drago, who is also the Minister for Agriculture and Fisheries. They discussed the Casa Bruce constituency's recovery efforts in the wake of Hurricane Maria, as well as the impact on the agriculture sector.
We're joined with Honourable Johnson Drago, the parliamentary representative for the Casa Bruce constituency. Just give us an idea as to the impact that Hurricane Maria had on your constituency.
Well, we are here in the beautiful community of Deepa with Casa Bruce in the background. We really took a pounding from Hurricane Maria. As a matter of fact, when we woke up on the morning of the 19th, 99% of all of the wooden structures were destroyed. And for most of them, the only sign out that there were houses in the area were the washroom facilities that government constructed for most of our needy. As a matter of fact, we were well on our way towards eradicating pit latrine in the area when Maria came and destroyed all of our structures that we were building. However, our people are resilient, as you know, we Dominicans are, and we are now in the rebuilding process. We are rapidly trying to get all of our citizens out of the shelters. Through various donor agencies, we've given well over 900 tarpaulins for temporary coverage of the houses, so that our people can move into their own homes. I must admit that I am satisfied with the effort of some of the community members to cover their houses with the galvanized, albeit damaged galvanized, and they're spreading the tarpaulin over it, and they're making themselves rather comfortable. We are continuing the relief effort, but we're not concentrating on relief only. The relief effort are mainly managed by the councils and the disaster committees. So the Casa Bruce Village Council handles disaster relief for Casa Bruce. The Good Hope Village Council cover Good Hope, Mopo, and the Petit Souffriere Council covers Petit Souffriere and Saint Souffriere. This is going on satisfactorily. The agricultural sector took a pounding. As you know, for us in this area, it's agriculture, and it's also the bay leaf industry for the farmers in the Petit Souffriere, Saint Souffriere area. This took major lash, and I'm not sure when we will be going to the factories with bay leaf. That won't be pretty soon. For the farmers of the area, we've started with the distribution of seeds to farmers. I've been reliably informed that within a week we should have some seedlings that we could give to farmers, especially vegetable seedlings for rapid vegetable production. We're looking at the vegetables that can be ready in 6 weeks. So we already have some lettuce in the soil and some cucumbers in the soil that can be ready for about 6 weeks. Government took a deliberate decision to stop the exportation of the agricultural produce. So therefore, there is enough food on the market today as we speak. 5 weeks into the hurricane, you can still get your dashing, your yams, your plantains, albeit bit up, but they are available. So we still have some provision in the diet. I am of the opinion that we, the Dominican consumers, we're going to have a hard time feeding ourselves on rice and macaroni, because trust me, it's not the major staple for a Dominican consumer. They like the dashing and the plantain. So for sometimes we're going to be suffering from that. Government is going to make direct aid available to farmers, both for on lending and direct support to the farmers. As we go along, we'll give more details into that. But farmers can expect that the government will be making some cash injection to the farmers while they're preparing to get their farm going, and government will synchronize facilities where farmers can on lend to continue managing their farms and so on.
And that was Honorable Johnson Drago on his account of how Hurricane Maria affected his community and, of course, the agriculture sector. I am Kenny Williams reporting for Channel 5 News.
Coming up next, meet Natalie Sabin of Portsmouth. Hurricane Maria may have destroyed her home, but it did not dampen her spirits. Julian Morris has more.
One month after Hurricane Maria, a visit to Portsmouth and you will be persuaded that things are moving smoothly. The streets are clean, there's business going on, restaurants are open, shops are open. What appears to be normal business seems to be going on, although there were some of the people we spoke with, at least one person I spoke with, seems to think that there are certain other things that could have been done. But generally speaking, you can see that there's been a tremendous effort in getting life back to normal in the town of Portsmouth. There are, of course, remnants or consequences of the hurricane that you can see here and there. There are roofs, buildings that are still uncovered. You can see all of that. And, of course, the evidence on the forests, the vegetation in the area. So, yes, there are signs still that Maria did have a serious impact on Portsmouth, but it seems to be an area where the people have pretty much decided, look, let's move on. Let's get life back to normal as soon as we can. I'm still in the Grange area, and it's pretty windy here now, but I'm speaking with Nathalie Sabin, and 1 month later, Nathalie has been showing us the remains of her house, pretty much a new structure, she said, and still not back in order yet as far as putting the house back together. Nathalie, how are things? Tell me, first of all, your experience with the house and the hurricane.
Well, it wasn't a pretty experience, but I thank God for knowing God. Because in times like this, the only thing that can keep you sane is the knowledge of God and knowing His word when He says He will never leave you nor forsake you. And other scripture verse that kept me going is that God is the Lord of the storm. And He allows, He permits, and He wills. Whatever happens is for His honor and for His glory. Take it or leave it. God was in the storm. Right?
You have a plank in your hand, Nathalie. That is part of the...
Part of a newly constructed building. It's, what I must say, it's just about a year or so since we renovated our home. And we were there when we got the news that it was Category 5. 3 of us live here. My husband, Ellington Sabin, my son, assistant coach of football, Ellington Sabin. And we were there, and he said it's Category 5. But things happen, and it's only after you realize why they happen. Our house and our kitchen not attached. Usually we lock the padlock, but that night my husband didn't lock it. So when we stood in the house and we saw the roof going, we had no other choice more than to dash to the kitchen, which was just remove the padlock and we enter in. Again, scripture says we will run to the mountain, and it says it's looking for a hiding place for itself, not knowing that even though the kitchen is a wall structure, the kitchen itself couldn't shelter us. We stood there and the wind continued blowing, a window went, we opened that western window so the air could pass. And we stood behind the door of a fridge. 3 of us, that's where we sheltered the storm.
And you said not a scratch. You're so thankful that you all went
not
through.
Not a scratch, not a headache, not, we have not gone for pressure check, neither sugar check.
Mr. Sabin is heading out to go to a funeral now. Yeah. Normally he would be dressing up in his own room in the house.
Well, what happened is, as you see, that is done. But being resilient people, we had a concrete structure behind there where we used to store our pig food. So we quickly covered it. We made it into a bedroom. That's our kitchen. We have our toilet that was attached to that structure. And my son added a little thing so we could put what we salvaged in it. So, the most important thing to us is knowing God. And the second important thing that a human being can call as their own is a place to eat, a place to sleep, and you know the next word Moses said. And we have all 3. So we make ourselves comfortable.
Just looking at your face, you're giving me comfort when I should be giving you comfort that your house is still in shambles.
No, the house, it will be rebuilt in God's own time, in God's own way. If God sees it should not be rebuilt, we are still comfortable where we are. And we life go on.
Nathalie Sabin, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. We appreciate it so much. Just tremendous encouragement coming from someone who we ourselves should be encouraging, having lost her home in the storm. But she has a unique perspective, a Christian perspective on life, she says, and it helps her in the way she sees everything, the way she looks at life on a whole. And she obviously is a very positive woman herself and her husband.
As the country continues its recovery efforts in the wake of Hurricane Maria, the cleanup aspect has been on the forefront for several weeks now, as Dominicans are producing a lot more waste than is usual. General Manager of the Dominica Solid Waste Management Corporation, Florian Mitchell, told the Channel 5 News recently that a new schedule has been put in place for the weekly collection of garbage island-wide.
So on Mondays, we'll be doing, let's say, the Pottersville area. Pottersville, if you're in the lowline area, let's say from the Lindomart gas station down towards the sea, that Pottersville, Lower Goodwill area, that would be done every Mondays, right? Roseau, and when we talk of Roseau, we talk of Roseau Central, meaning from the Roseau River all the way back to the Newtown Savannah, which is Bath Road. That is Roseau on a Monday. Then Massac and Fokole as well on Mondays. And then when we say stock farm, we mean Yampi, Starry Street, all those enclaves within the stock farm area. That is designated for Monday. Monday only, not Monday and Tuesday, not Monday and Wednesday, but those committees on Mondays. On Tuesdays, Bavested, Emsall, Silver Lake, then we have Marwa and Jimit, then we have Newtown, Fortney, Kingshill, those areas in this coast environment. And then we also have Point Michelle and Lubian. On Wednesday, we have St. Joe, Layu, Miro, that borough there, yeah. Then you have Castle Comfort Wallhouse, then you have Jodel, Eggleston, then you have Mount Daniel, Canefield, River Estate. And all those are assigned to different contractors, whether it's solid waste or a private entity. And on Thursdays, we have Collier, Coolibishu, Salisbury, then we have Centeroma, which is from the Goodwill Savannah, up. And then you have Monarchet, BH, Jubla on Thursdays as well. Then you have the Valley, on Prosper, all those areas, Coptall, Louisville, up. And on Friday, Canefield, you have Roger, Canefield East, those areas, right? Canefield Flat, all by the airport area. And then we also try to service all the health centers in terms of the biomedical waste. So that we're doing that every Fridays. Also all the shelters every Fridays. And then because Roseau is the capital and the city, so we are actually doing Roseau again on Friday. And on Friday we'll be doing Sufria's concert.
Mitchell went on to say that due to the increasing volume of garbage being produced, new dump sites have had to be opened up to accommodate the accumulating waste.
What we did to make the process a bit easier, again looking at the road network, so we had to improvise and set up facilities where the general public could utilize, not just the contractors, but the general public. For example, in the north, we had to reopen the Point Wang area. That would allow garbage from the north end. When I say garbage, meaning residential waste, the galvanized material, and also the silt and wood material at the Point Wang. And we man those facilities, and then there are different locations that you could put the material. Again, it's a temporary setup just to accommodate the waste disposal and the collection of the other material. What we are doing actually, the landfill in Fokole, the only material that we are receiving on the landfill in Fokole is residential waste only. Okay. No galvanized, no derelict, nothing else other than residential. What we have done is the old landfill, the stock farm, we have opened the area up so you could bring all your galvanized material in there, your steel material in there, and your wood material in that area. So we're just trying to ensure that the general public is aware as to where to bring what. So if you go to the landfill and you have galvanized at Fokole, they will not allow you, they will not permit you to come in.
But they will tell you to go.
They will tell you, they will direct you to stock farm, and the area is manned, so the guy on the facility in stock farm will also tell you, okay, dump this here, dump that here, dump that here. So these are some of the things that put in place.
Mitchell is imploring the Dominican public to exercise patience as the corporation is working to properly dispose of the increasing amount of waste material.
With respect to all the galvanizers that we're seeing all over the island, someone will say, oh, so just ask them to put the galvanizers in that location, they ask them to put it in the location, when are they going to remove it, what are they going to do with it? And again, we've had discussion with the Minister of Finance, who again pledges support in accessing metal compactors. So those will be brought in on the island. So it doesn't matter where you see the material, those compactors will be brought in and they will be baled and exported. So it's not like we're just going to leave it at Point Strong or leave it at Stock Farm or leave it somewhere in Montreal. No, the plan is just temporary. Those items, they will be baled and they will be exported.
That was General Manager of the Dominica Solid Waste Management Corporation, Florian Mitchell, speaking to Channel 5 News on the corporation's cleanup efforts in the wake of Hurricane Maria. Next up, WABU weighs in on the resumption of operations at the Dominica Coconut Products DCP. The union also contracted regional partners for help in the recovery efforts.
We have not engaged management on that, but since it was the intention, as stated by the Prime Minister, that it would probably be back in operation in December, with the passage of Hurricane Maria, that have been put on hold, I would think, or that have been retarded. We would have to have some discussions with the management to determine from them when it is the new date for possible resumption, because we would really and truly want to see a reduction in the incidence of unemployment in Dominica. And if DCP can reopen, it could contribute massively, and more so in the area of Mahu and Matsak. The Waterfront and Allied Workers Union is always monitoring those things that are happening in Dominica. We are in fact in contact with internationals to see what form of assistance we can receive for the membership and for the union. One of the things that we have to ensure is that we have to put the union back into operation so that we could service the membership. And we are doing that through an intermediary in Antigua, Brother David Messiah, who is in contact with the International Transport Workers Federation, where the international have decided that it's going to allocate £100,000 to 3 countries in the Caribbean, including Dominica, to assist the unions there. So we will be monitoring that, and we are hoping to get some documents during the course of today so that we could fill it out and get it back to Messiah for onward transmission to the ITF so that the funds and the allocation could be forthcoming. We have also got some indication from affiliated unions or like-minded unions in Grenada, the Commercial and Industrial Workers Union and the Technical and Allied Workers Union, that they are concerned with the leadership of the unions and the impact that Maria have had, and they are in fact going to be providing us with a couple of barrels of supply so that we could in fact distribute it among the leadership of the unit. So we are monitoring those things.
The Ministry of Trade is taking steps to reduce incidents of exploiting Dominican consumers in the wake of Hurricane Maria. Talking to Channel 5 News, Director of Trade, Martin Walter, said the ministry first noticed discrepancies in prices in the wake of Tropical Storm Erica in 2015. He says the ministry is taking steps to reduce these incidents in the wake of Hurricane Maria.
Coming from Tropical Storm Erica, we noted we had our own concerns as a ministry when we heard that certain products like the tins of milk were being sold in certain places for $6. And you had sugar, which is under Dexia's control, being sold for $5 in certain places. Obviously, it was concern to the ministry and we needed to take some action. The Prime Minister also reinforced that kind of concern which he saw to be profiteering and price gouging. And this is really what it is after the storm. From a Ministry of Trade standpoint, we have started the process of setting up a mechanism here. And anytime we get those reports, we go out to the people who are involved in that and move them in the direction of being fair to the consumers on the ground. The idea, though, is to have it a bit more structured by bringing on board an organization, a non-profit company that we ourselves as government ensured to incorporate, and that is the Dominica Consumer Association. The president is Mr. Clerville Mills. And the hope is that we can work together, civil society and the government, to deal with those persons who are involved in profiteering and price gouging coming from Hurricane Maria.
In the Prime Minister's most recent address to the nation, we heard him mention there will be no VAT on various items for the next 6 months as we recover from the ravages of Hurricane Maria. What can consumers look forward to, I guess, in terms of prices in that regard, or the price going down, and what role would the ministry play in ensuring that the shops actually maintain the removal of VAT on various items?
It's a tricky one, huh? And let me tell you why it is tricky. Because the only true assurance that we can get for the movement downwards of prices of products is when they are under the control of the state. The expectation of the Prime Minister would be that if you are no longer are being asked to pay the VAT, and in some cases I think they said the environmental tax and also the custom service charge would also be exempt. I think that was said. If those particular duties that are usually levied on the price of the good and which would then be passed on to the consumer are no longer there, the expectation would be, logically, that the price of the good will fall. And this is what our own expectations would be. But like I said, historically, the experience that we have had as a ministry when we have seen the plight of the consumer and tried to assist by bringing down or removing customs duties, it has not worked as it should. I would not want to say more on that, because there may be conversations that we may have to have as a Ministry of Trade with the private sector to find out from them what is it that prevents them from truly, and some of them, passing this on to the consumer. And I'm not just speaking theoretically. We carried out market surveillance prior to the duty-free concessions being added, specifically, for example, to the Pampers and wipes. Yeah? And then after that, on a 3-month interval, the officers went out to some of the supermarkets, some of the stores, to see whether there was change. And there was practically no change. What we noticed was that, because these products were being brought in duty-free, they extended the range of products available. So if you only had Huggies before, you have all different, you have Pampers and all different brands. But in relation to passing on the savings that the government expects to have been passed on to the consumers, we have had a difficulty in that. So what I would do now is really to appeal to the private sector. If they are benefiting from products that are being granted duty-free for the sole purpose of creating a more comfortable life for persons who have suffered as a result of tropical storm, of Hurricane Maria, or generally where the government policy of reducing duties to allow people to eat and drink, they should, pass those savings on to the consumers, as is the expectation of the government when they implement those policies.
And we just heard from the Director of Trade, Mr. Marpin Walter, on the efforts of the government and the Ministry of Trade in eliminating the incidents of exploiting Dominican consumers in the wake of Hurricane Maria. Reporting for Channel 5 News, I am Andrea Louis. You have been watching the Channel 5 News. On behalf of the entire production team, I am Andrea Louis, and to all of our viewers around the world, thank you so much for watching. Join us next time.